Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. My name is Jim Burns, and right now you are in the Bully-Proof Classroom. This will be your anti-bullying tip for the week of July 1st, 2013, and you can receive this and other tips by subscribing to the anti-bullying tip of the day at www.bullyproofclassroom.com. My parents owned a bar, and from the time I can remember, which was when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I spent my time sitting on a bar stool. Most kids were playing with their friends or some toys that they had. I always was talking to strangers and playing with beer boxes. It did have its advantages. You know, like as I got older, I had a built-in job, and I really learned how to talk to adults. You always had to agree with them because you didn't want to lose them as customers. Always polite, always considerate, and never giving anyone a hard time. And, of course, I learned how to curse like a sailor at a very young age and got a taste of beer when I was about 10. The place had its characters that were both humorous and sad at times. I always thought it was normal for a guy to spend 4 or 5 hours drinking at the end of a workday before they went home. Many times as I got older, I would drive some guys who were too drunk to drive back home. When I got them home, I found out why he spent that amount of time in the bar after work. His wife was less happy to see him when he got there, not because he was drunk. She just didn't like the guy. One of the things I loved as a kid was the fact that there was always cash around. I would ask my dad for a dime or a quarter, and he would reach into the till and hand it over. One warm summer evening around 5 o'clock, I asked my dad for a quarter, and he said no. Then I asked him again, and he said no. And then I started to beg, and I said, "Come on, Dad, please." He didn't give in. I got about as mad as any 11-year-old could get and walked out, passing 4 customers sitting at the bend in the bar, right by the door on my way out. On my way out that door, I said, "Cheap." As soon as I said this, I knew I was in trouble, and I tried to think of words that sounded like cheap that I could use to try and convince him that he just heard wrong. Then I had to find a way to get back in without him seeing me. There was really only one way in and one way out, and that was through the bar. Well, I rode my bike for a while, and then decided to try and get past the blockade. When I got back to the bar was closed. The bar that was open 364 days a year was closed. He locked the door and made me knock to get in. I knocked on the door, and he opened it. I asked him to hold the door open so I could bring in my bike. He stood there, grabbed me by the arm, and said to me, "What did you say on the way out of here?" I told him. I said, "Cheap." The grip on my arm got tighter, and he said to me, "After all the nickels, dimes, and quarters I've given you, you call me cheap?" I said, "Sorry, Dad." He then loosened the grip and told me to go upstairs. Now, my dad took a break around 7 o'clock for dinner, and took a nap until 9 o'clock, after which he went back downstairs to work. Around 8:30, I learned the biggest lesson of my life. He called me into the bedroom and sat me down. My dad said to me, "Do you know why I locked the door to the bar after you left?" And I said, "No." He said, "After you left the bar, the 4 guys who heard what you said started talking about you and what an ungrateful and selfish kid you were. And I couldn't take it. I had to put them out. I just got sick of hearing them talk like this about my son." My dad put those guys out in my defense, and because of the ache he felt in his heart. My dad used my own stupidity as a time to teach me that I can't say anything I want, and he wanted me to understand that whether or not I think anybody else hears my comments doesn't matter. Somebody hears and starts to develop a perception of who you are as a person. I never forgot this lesson. You see, all along, I thought those guys would ride my dad on what a cheapskate they thought he was because he wouldn't give me a quarter. I was so wrong. As I look at this story, I can think of it as just the way kids speak to their parents today at a younger age, even than I was when I called my father cheap. Kids didn't just wake up one day and decide that they were going to be rude to their parents. This has happened so slowly that it's just about unrecognizable. What are we going to do with these kids can become the cry that most parents have today. Now, I named this essay cheap because how ironic it is that I called my father cheap in front of his customers when he truly wasn't cheap at all. But I tell you, I ended up feeling cheap, and deservingly so. When my father was done with me, it was an incredible feeling knowing that I was the one that people were talking about, and my father got so upset that he had to put them out of the bar. Now, folks, even though it's cheap to sit a kid down and talk to him today about their behavior, their attitude, their character, and the perception that other people may have of him or her, does anyone take the time to do it anymore? Is this related to bullying? Well, of course it is. Why? Because kids can't say and do anything they want. People are watching. Bullies need to be aware that other people are watching them. And they're going to want something someday that they're not going to be able to get strictly because of the way they treated others. And people observed them that they did not even know were watching. We have to be very careful with our words, and we need to teach our kids to do the same thing. It is so important for us to watch what we say, who we say it to, and realize that we will end up feeling very cheap in the end. My name is Jim Burns. This has been the Anti-Bullying Tip of the Week for the week of July 1st, 2013. You can get this and other tips at www.bullyproofclassroom.com. Please be aware that we're going to be starting online professional development probably within a month or so. Take a look at the website. I'm sure you're going to find a lot of articles and a lot of great stuff there that you can use in your classroom. You can use it in your home with your kids. Let's stop this bullying epidemic now, and let's get our heads screwed on straight and help get the heads of the kids right that we're working with. They need to change their mind about bullying, and they need to do it real quick. Listen, tomorrow, great show coming up. It's going to be on 10 best ways to build any relationship. Part 1. Please don't miss it. I'm sure you're going to love it. Okay? Have a great day today. Have a great week coming up. I hope you do listen tomorrow. Okay? And I really appreciate you listening today. And if you were listening, do me a favor. Tell someone who wasn't listening to check out the archives. Have a great day, everybody.